Those who come to you with lies and nonsense, tell them to go away. Go away.
Audrey Marks breaks silence on controversial U.S. migration policy. One of the most closely watched political interviews of the day came from Minister without portfolio and former Jamaican Ambassador to the United States, Audrey Marks, who used the Jamaica Information Service interview to respond publicly to growing controversy surrounding the government's discussions with the United States on migration policy.
You don't normally release the document before you finalize the negotiations and the agreements, because you have in everything you have the cover document, and then you have some appendix, some terms that will go with it. So how will it work? Who will be involved? You know, for example, the International Migration Organization will be the point organization handling the transit of third country nationals from the United States through Jamaica. The other point regarding the misinformation, the MOU states that the person will be here for 7 days, maximum 14 days. So there's no flooding of third country nationals to Jamaica, and certainly again, no criminals.
For days, public debate has centered on claims that Jamaica was considering accepting large numbers of so-called third country nationals from the United States. Opposition politicians, civil society groups, and many Jamaicans questioned what exactly had been proposed, whether national sovereignty was being compromised, and whether the public had been fully informed. During today's interview, Mark sought to separate two issues that she says have been wrongly merged in the public discussion.
It's a clear United States policy, not anything at all to do with me. I could not dictate to the U.S. anything about their third country nationals program.
So you were not involved in that negotiation?
Right. So a year later, January 2nd, 2026, is when the United States Embassy here transmitted a request to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to start a discussion, read their request for Jamaica to sign an MOU to deal with third country nationals. It was the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, the Ministry of National Security and Peace, the Attorney General's Department, they're all, and I think Ministry of Justice, they're all focused on making sure that Jamaica could sign the MOU, but in a manner that would not disturb what we are trying to achieve as a country.
Yeah.
Her first major argument was that the proposal she developed while serving as ambassador was not a plan for Jamaica to receive deportees or relocated migrants. Instead, she described it as a broad economic and labor cooperation proposal designed to prepare Jamaica for anticipated changes in U.S. immigration policy. According to Marks, the proposal contains several components, including a significant expansion of Jamaica's long-standing seasonal worker programs in the United States, attracting highly skilled professionals to Jamaica, positioning the island as a regional technology and logistic hub, and strengthening bilateral security cooperation. A particular ambitious aspect discussed during the interview was the idea of eventually expanding Jamaica's participation in U.S. temporary worker programs from roughly 20,000 workers to as many as 200,000 over time. Marks argued that such an expansion could generate greater employment opportunities, increase remittances, and expose more Jamaicans to international work experience.
Is this skilled worker proposal that you had put forward still going to be implemented?
Oh, it still is, but we also need to deal with that misinformation. Because some of the questions I've noted, persons are saying, but this is what the embassy said, that Ambassador Marks proposed to take 10,000 criminals into the country, and the embassy would not be lying. I'm going to do some things that we don't normally do, because diplomatic notes, diplomatic agreements that are being discussed at a high level are not usually put in the public domain. It's like when WikiLeaks happen. You don't put out documents while you're in negotiations, or documents that are sensitive to bilateral and, even multilateral relations. They have to be managed a certain way. But what I can do, I can read from the diplomatic note exactly what was requested. So the diplomatic note said that the United States has the further honor to advise and really request that a meeting to discuss the proposal by Minister Audrey Marks to XYZ during the America's Counter-Cartel Conference at the U.S. Southern Command in Miami, Florida on March 5th, 2026 for a third country national arrangement, not the MOU, that Jamaica would receive up to 10,000 third country individuals from the United States. What they were doing, they were asking for a meeting to discuss the proposal. Now, I want to go further and people can Google it. You can Google what a third country national means. And it means an individual who is in a country that is not their home of citizenship. They are neither a citizen of the nation they are currently in, the host country, in this case the United States, nor the nation that they would be going to. Depending on the context, this term applies in different ways. So for example, in the European Union, they gave that as an example. If you are in the European Union working, and you're from Canada or even England, you're referred to as a third country national. So a third country national don't mean that you're a criminal. It means that you're not from the country you're coming from, or you're not a citizen of the country you're going to. So when the United States asks for a meeting to discuss the third country national arrangement, not MOU, of up to 10,000 individuals, there's nothing wrong with that. That is in keeping with our discussion and what I'm proposing, that we need skilled workers, and we want to discuss it because it would involve an entire framework. It would involve funding from the United States. It would involve a process, because those persons that would be coming would be persons that are already working in the United States. They are being processed, they are being screened, they are working, they have applied for residency, I would assume some of them, but they would not be given residence in the United States under these current changing migration policies.
She also defended proposals aimed at attracting highly skilled workers currently facing uncertainty in the United States because of changing immigration policies. Marks said Jamaica continues to struggle with labor shortages caused by decades of outward migration, declining birth rates, and the loss of highly trained professionals. In her view, carefully managed immigration could help fill critical gaps in technology, infrastructure, healthcare, and other specialized sectors. Perhaps the most politically significant moment came when Marks directly addressed the third country national controversy. She stated that the proposal involving third country nationals originated with the United States through diplomatic channels and was separate from the structured migration proposal she had prepared while ambassador. She maintained that her discussions with U.S. officials were focused on economic cooperation and legal labor mobility, not on accepting thousands of deportees into Jamaica. Recognizing the level of public concern, Marks also announced that no structured migration program would move forward without consultations involving trade unions, private sector representatives, civil society organizations, and opposition stakeholders. She said these discussions would be necessary before any implementation begins. However, while the interview answered several important questions, it is unlikely to end the debate entirely. Critics are expected to continue asking whether the government communicated the proposals clearly from the outset. What legal safeguards would exist if any future agreement is negotiated? How many foreign workers could eventually enter Jamaica? What funding commitments the United States might provide? And how Jamaican workers would be protected from displacement?
It also says that Jamaica retains full discretion to decline to accept any individual for any reason, including health and for security purposes or any other basis. And it goes on to say other things. But it's important to note that this information is in the public domain. This was in the first article published by the Gleaner. Yet, because this was an orchestrated misinformation plan, the very same day and in the continuing days, what we have seen pushed from various bloggers, YouTubers, all kinds of persons, third country nationals MOU with the United States to take criminals into Jamaica. That is not so, and that's the first thing we must clarify and put an end to.
You've said, though, that you did in fact make a proposal to the US government about a skills program. That has now been conflated with this third country national program. Let's start with your proposal. How did that come about?
Back in
These questions remain politically significant because immigration policy affects employment, national security, housing, healthcare, and public confidence in government decision-making. From a communications perspective, today's interview appears designed to shift the discussion away from allegations that Jamaica had agreed to accept third country nationals and toward a broader conversation about economic development, labor mobility, and workforce planning. Whether that explanation satisfies critics will likely depend on the release of additional documentation and the outcome of the promised national consultations. For now, today's interview provides the government's most comprehensive public explanation yet of the proposals under discussion and marks an important step in what is expected to remain one of Jamaica's most closely followed political issues in the weeks ahead. Subscribe today, turn on notifications, and never miss the stories that matter most. Jamaica News Now, your Highlands, your news, right now.